Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, the people who control the Nigerian state are a shadowy clique, as you know, and I am not just talking about the Malam Buhari cabal, who are just the new present crude manifestation of that clique. I am going back to the beginning of the Nigerian state till date, and the people who have wielded the country and held sway and are owned effectively that country are just a glut of them, a handful of them. They are shadowy, they are sneaky, they are sly, and you don't really see them coming. Now, if you are a member of that club, you can eat as much as you like from the Nigerian feast, but the one rule is not to discuss matters of the club outside of the club. So now any nail that sticks out will be hammered down is really the rule of that club. Guys, I bring you this. Court grants panel leave to probe Sanusi over 2.2 billion land scam. So we're going to Kano State again, the travails of Mohammedu Sanusi II, an ever green saga. This is something that would never end. And this guy, of course, now Sanusi II, he stepped outside of that club to discuss matters of the club, and the way he discussed matters of the club, of course, was to highlight the dichotomy between the rich and the poor within the northern region especially, and to also alert that this cannot be sustained, this gluttonous orgy that they're just having at the expense of the poor masses. And this was his high crime, and his punishment will be everlasting. So the headline again: court grants panel leave to probe Sanusi II over 2.2 billion naira land scam. So now let's now see now, and of course it will be Abdullahi Ganduje behind this. So now let's now see now how they're still chasing the former now emir all over the place. Fresh trouble lurks around the post emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, as the Federal High Court sitting in Kano State paves way for the state's anti-corruption commission to investigate him over the alleged 2.2 billion naira land scam. So let me just pause there for a moment, because it is just quite staggering, the irony and the lack of self-awareness and the arrogance and the impunity that is the Nigerian system. So the person, of course, chasing Lamido Sanusi II all over the place is Abdullahi Ganduje, the governor of the state. So it is Ganduje behind it. So now who is now Ganduje? Because the accusation have been leveled against Sanusi II is that he was involved in a 2.2 billion naira land scam. Unbelievable, of course, because Sanusi is an extremely wealthy man. He was wealthy all the way through. He comes from royalty. His father was rich. He went to the central bank and he of course gorged on that. So I'm not quite sure if 2.2 billion naira will be sufficient for him to tarnish his name over, but this is the allegation being leveled against him. But who is leveling that allegation is really the question. Is the dollar pocketing governor of our Kano State, who we all saw. We all saw the video of this guy pocketing dollars. He is the one now. That's why I said there's no sense of irony, no self-awareness, and it's total and absolute impunity. This is the guy now that has the effrontery, the audacity, the gall to accuse. I mean, it's staggering, but let me just carry on. Sorry, I just had to pause there because it just struck me really. Just look at the two sides of the coin. We saw pocketing bribe with a big grin on your face. This one, the other one, Sanusi II, is a wealthy man. So you are accusing this wealthy man of stealing money, but you that we saw pocketing dollars, they told us it's Photoshop. I mean, this is Nigeria, and everybody in a criminal, according to Fouls, the bad boy. Anyway, let's carry on. Justice Louis Alagao yesterday dismissed the fundamental human rights suit filed by the former Central Bank of Nigeria CBN governor against Governor Abdullahi Ganduje Kano Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission and its chairman, as well as the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Justice. Sanusi will face fresh anti-corruption charges 3 months after his deposition from the throne he sat on for about 6 years. He had sought the court to restrict the 4 defendants from investigating him on the alleged land racketeering, arguing that the planned investigation was against his fundamental human rights. But the judge held that the Anti-Graft Commission and its chairman had the jurisdiction and power to investigate Sanusi on the matter. Justice Lewis had in March granted an ex parte order filed by Sanusi to restrict the commission from inviting and investigating him on land matters pending the hearing and determination of the originating sermons. The anti-graft agency had invested on the embattled Sanusi a right of occupancy CON-RES-2016-503, which was reportedly sold illegally by the Kano Emirate Council to the Family Home Fund Limited at the instance of Sanusi as the emir. According to the commission, investigation also revealed that all the alleged illegal transactions for the sale of landed properties at Damanawa, Hotoro, I'm not going to attempt all the names because I struggle with the northern names, belonging to the emirate was done by the trio of Shehu Dankadai, Saki Ibrahim and Mustafa Yahaya based on the alleged instruction of Sanusi. The resurgence of the land racketeering suit came after the same High Court dismissed the allegation of misappropriation of about 4.5 billion naira against the deposed emir. So this is now Sanusi in this situation now. He stepped outside of the club, of course, and is going to be punished because you would have to remember Sanusi is an international figure 1, is an articulate man 2, and a well-educated man 3. Also experienced, so it's a well-rounded, very solid sort of individual. No matter what you think of his politics, no matter what you think of his being, there is no denying or disputing that he is an entity. He comes from royal stock as well, so all of this rounds off to make him the sort of person that he is. So now that sort of person that he is could have gone in one of 2 directions. He could have gone with the status quo, which is just to keep quiet and continue to feast on the excesses. But this guy now, Sanusi, he has fed fat all of his life and he doesn't really feel the need to continue to feed fat at the expense of the masses anymore. And he's looking around him. You know that Sanusi, of course, he likes that flashy life. It's a show off. He likes to be a prince and then a king, and he likes all of that, the accoutrement and all of that pomp and circumstance and that pageantry of all of that royalty sort of element. He enjoys all of that. Indeed, he drives around Kano in a Rolls Royce, in a vintage Rolls Royce. So this is the sort of person that he is. So he's now driving around Kano in his vintage Rolls Royce. One, he's driving on roads that is, you know what the Nigerian roads are like sort of like potted roads, like some sort of like a fairground sort of ride is what you experience when you are driving in Nigeria, when you're going into divots and potholes and whatnot. So one, he drives his Rolls Royce on this sort of roads, and he is now getting to that realization that surely my Rolls Royce should not be driven on this sort of roads, because when I drive my Rolls Royce in London, I drive it on smooth roads. When I drive it in Saudi, smooth, in Dubai, smooth. So why is it not the same here? So he's having those thoughts. He's also then looking out of his Rolls Royce to the people that he has dominion over, and he can see poverty written on all of their faces as he drives through. So he's living this life of opulence and is surrounded by abject poverty. And this is the narrative now that Sanusi was now bringing to the Nigerian elites, especially from his section, his sector of the country. But then that is, of course, stepping outside of the club. And you do not step outside of the club, because the nail that sticks out will be hammered down. So this is now the hammering down on Sanusi that we're seeing playing out now. And who is administering that hammer? No less a figure than the dollar-loving governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje. And thus is the narrative of Nigeria. The person that should be sitting in the dock is the one sitting in judgment, and the person that should be sitting in judgment is the one sitting in the dock. Conversations in the comment section. Come share thoughts. Ganduje, Sanusi, a never-ending saga. Come tell me what you are making of all this. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me now what you are making of the travails of the former Emir of Kano State, Lamido Sanusi, in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here, I say, peace.